Hi, welcome to NSDEE's Properties of Resources video, Part 2. NSDEE has property pages for project, folder, and files. This video was split into two parts. The first part of the video, which you would have already seen, talks about the most used project properties, the resources, and the CC++ build pages. The second part talks about the other project properties and file properties. If you haven't seen the first video yet, I would recommend you to go check it out. Now let's get started with the second part of the properties video. I have already opened the properties pages for a project. Now let's go to the CC++ general page in our properties window.
Most of the property pages under CC++ General are inherited from CDT. Most of the pages are common across all projects in the workspace. If you want to have any project-specific properties, then you need to enable the checkbox here, Enable Project-Specific Settings. Now let's look at the code analysis property page. If you wish to customize for your project the errors and warnings when they have to be thrown, then you need to select Use Project Settings before you can make the changes. These errors and warnings are the ones which will be thrown when the code analysis is performed on the editor. Let's move to paths and symbols next. First, let's look at the Includes tab here. All the locations added under the -I option for the compiler will be shown here in the Includes tab. Along with them, it will also show the path to the comproved user include, which will also be included for the project build. Let's move to the Symbols tab now. You can add macros and their definitions here under the Symbols tab. The advantage of adding the macros here is that the editor will be able to resolve these macros while parsing the file open in the editor. Now let's move to the Libraries tab. All libraries defined under the -l for the linker will be added as part of the Libraries tab. Similarly, the Library Paths tab. All library paths added under -L in the linker will be added in this tab. Let's move on to the Source Location tab. The Source Location tab shows all the source folders that have been defined in this project, along with the filters that is applicable over those folders. Let's move to the References tab. Project references are also defined in Project References property page. But the difference is if you add a project reference here, for example, when a project's configuration references a configuration of another project, then the referenced objects are automatically added to the build of the project using it. NSD also ensures that the referenced projects are built as a prerequisite for building the dependent projects. For example, let's mark the project Dynamic DLL as being referenced by our project. Click Apply here. Now, if we go to the Settings tab and look at the Libraries -L option, you can see a DYDLL library added here. Let me remove the dependency now. Now let's compare this with the Project References property page. Let's select a few projects on which our project is dependent. Here, the objects of these projects on which we are dependent are not added as part of the libraries for our project. However, these projects that we are dependent on are built before our project is built. Now let's build our project. You can see that the project marked as references have been built before the build for our project has started. Now coming back to property pages. Moving on to the preprocessor include paths, macros, etc. property page. Let's go to the entries tab first. All the built-in compiler settings will be identified and shown on this page. Let's go to the providers tab. Let's enable the project specific settings for non-stop built-in compiler settings. First, select the non-stop built-in compiler settings. Unselect the use global provider shared between projects checkbox. This will make it enable project specific settings. Now you can see the command that will be run to get these built-in compiler settings. Also, you can allocate a console to it to see the output of that command being run. Click OK. You can see the command that is being run in the console and the macros that is defined as part of this command. These macros will now be visible in our property pages. And here they are. Identifying these macros will help the indexer better run the indexing for the file open in the editor. Now that we have looked at all the project properties, let's move on and check out the file properties. Let's look at the properties for this file, main.c. The resource property page for this file contains information regarding the file type, exact location where the file is located, and also attributes such as whether it's a read-only file. Now let's look at the C++ build property pages. Unlike the project properties, the file properties has just two pages, settings and toolchain editor, under the C++ build property pages. In the settings page, you could disable this file from your build if you think this file need not be built as part of your project build. If at any point of time you wish to override the project level settings for this file alone, then you can customize the compiler settings for this file. Now let's move to the toolchain editor page. As seen in the settings page, you would notice that file level property supports only one tool. However, we can change this tool in the toolchain editor page. Usually, you would want to change this tool from a C compiler to a C compiler with SQLMP or something similar. You can also update the link to a file in the file property pages. To demonstrate this, let me select a link file. Let's go to the resource page where we have the basic information about this link file. You can see that this file has been marked as a linked file. Now, to update the location, let's click on the edit button across the location information. Here, you can update the location to which this link file has to point. Now that we have seen both the project properties and the file properties, there's a few points I would like to bring out before we end this session on properties of resources. For that, let's go to the toolchain editor property page of this project. Clicking on the Restore Defaults button here will not take you back to the initial tools that have been added as part of your project creation. Instead, it will add all the tools that have been assigned to this tool chain. So beware before you click this button. Clicking on the Restore Defaults button in the Remote Settings page will not make any change to your existing settings. With this, we come to the end of this video on Properties of Resources, Part 2. Watch out for more videos on NSD. Thank you.